learning some Lithuanian?
Only through my kids. They are learning Lithuanian in school.
Okay.
So Pinky and Sheshe are my favorite numbers, and just because they sound nice. Hey, but I can't. Like saying I'm learning Lithuanian would be a complete lie. Like complete lie. Like,
right?
Yeah, that's a different story. Exactly. So he's got a little more to it than me.
So, coach, 10-7 in EuroLeague, 6 months in Kaunas. You went through ice and fire, I would say. How do you feel right now?
Quite good. Talking about the first round, overall result-wise, we're in a good spot, obviously. So that is good, and that's that also leads to us having a certain confidence, and leads to us analyzing the situation as a positive one. You said it. The first round has been like extremely interesting because it was a little bit of up and a down and then an up again. I will say that in the down, where we lost games in a row, the workflow and the process stayed the same. So I can't, give a spectacular story or something about how we dug ourselves out. I think it was very unspectacular. It was and is working and really going from game to game, and taking every challenge from day to day, because the challenges are big. The games are fantastic. The opponents are fantastic. The level is so high, and it's a great challenge, and I'm thankful, for being able to, experience this challenge.
What do you think? How did you change in these 6 months, both as a person and as a coach, of course?
As a person, I haven't changed. As a coach, I don't want to say I've changed, but the context of what my daily work consists of, is a different one, because the game is very different. It's I said this before, the sport is the same, but the game is extremely different, and according to these differences, one has to adjust, and one gets challenged as a coach with different things than I have been challenged with in the last 3 years, and also in the years before. So content-wise, things have changed. Have I changed as a coach? No, I don't think so. Not on a general level.
But what was the biggest challenge for you, for example, to adjust, which took the most time?
It's difficult to pinpoint one thing, and it is an ongoing process. But talking about the adjustments is talking about the differences of the games, and it's a difference playing in, let's say, German First League and Lithuanian First League, because the game is very different. It's a difference playing in Champions League, Euro Cup, and Euro League, and then again, it's a major difference, like going to North America. And then coming back again, So being a little more precise and a little bit more in depth. One big difference is the physicality with which the game is allowed to be played. And another big difference is the inside game, like the post-up game itself is still so much more alive in Europe, and especially in EuroLeague, than it is, in North America. So whether you post up or not, on the offensive end, you have to find ways to defend it, because every team does it. Just to bring like one example, or two examples, and that's. That kind of stuff, like content-wise, is very interesting to deal with.
Do you remember the moment when you saw that Žalgiris is playing the way you want them to play? they're practicing the way you want them to see practicing, and when you actually saw it, now it's your team finally?
I can't say, hey, this was the moment or the game or something, I can really not. What I did like, just thinking a little bit about the first round overall, what I really liked about the group early on was that they were very willing and are very willing to move the basketball and hitting the open man. That's something the group does really, really good. And they were also very adaptable to spacing the floor and getting to the corners and really making it wide. Defensively, the process was more to be seen throughout there was more of a process to be seen throughout the first round. We're making steps, game to game, week to week, month to month. The month of December for us was a very good defensive month, so it's a process, and it's, as long as it's moving forward, that's what we want to see. Again, I can't pinpoint, hey, this is my team, or what I want to do. It's really more a process and step by step. And there are nights where it looks really nice, and you as a coach say, hey, this is my team. And then there are nights where you probably wish that the cameras are not on and say it's not my team. So I really can't pinpoint.
So far, our team is doing pretty good in EuroLeague. Actually, everybody's happy all about the process, about the results, and we're here in Lithuania. We're kind of used to this basketball culture and the pressure, all the stuff. And I was thinking, how for you as a foreign coach, who were 4-1 in the beginning of the season, having good positions in the EuroLeague, winning games, how shocking for you it was? All these questions about, for example, 12th player of the roster and his playing time, about some defensive problems, even though the team was on the top of the EuroLeague. Were you that, come on guys, we're winning games, what's going on?
No, not really, because it's part of the business. What I want to say is that I realized very quickly that the culture of basketball is, enormous in this country, and really impressive. And then the culture of basketball, being so big, also reflects obviously in the media, what you're talking about just now, by having a lot of questions, a pretty big media presence. And then also detailed questions that in different countries you will probably not find like that. So that's something that obviously I figured out really quickly in the phase that you were talking about. But it's it's my job. I don't have problems answering those questions, so no, it actually speaks again volumes for the culture of the sport in this country.
You pointed out that 6-game losing streak, and when the situation didn't change in the team, in the process, for example. But for you as a coach, making a debut in the EuroLeague, what was that situation when you're losing 6 games in a row and questioning yourself? Okay, what's now? What should I do now to change the result?
The only thing for me to do. And whether it is a losing streak or winning, is really to go to the next step. And the next step always comes so quickly within this schedule, So having said that, the next step is always either reviewing the game and analyzing the game, or preparing practice, or just preparing a shoot around because there is no real practice, and then again getting ready for the game, etc., etc. So they're really it's really always on to the next step, and that's what it has been, you know, from game 1 to game 17 so far, and I don't see it like change, you know. It is a very interesting process. Like it's specific for this league, but in a way, like on a philosophical level, it's also like something that other people like find themselves in, where like event comes after event after event after event, and it's very meaningful events because you know, it's a winner and a loser. There's not a draw. You know, everybody's watching. You know, so it's a different pressure because, you know, people who have a different job have also very, very meaningful events, with the difference that not every meaningful event is like viewed by a lot of people and judged by a lot of people, which then again can influence internally, you know. So it's super interesting. So what I wanted to say though is, it is an art form, I believe, to, you know, be within the moment and go to the next step, and at the same time like giving oneself space to reflect, and that's very difficult, you know. Like in a way you need also a little bit of space to reflect what you're doing, otherwise you know, otherwise you may be turning to the wrong direction, you know. And like my assistant coaches do a really good job of like putting things into perspective, and Paulius does a really good job of putting things into perspective, whether we win or lose, to kind of stay level-headed, to try to move the project onwards, you know.
And in that, you know, hard moment of 6-game losing streak, what kind of leadership you saw, and what kind of leadership maybe which was not very usual in such a tough situation, and which you really appreciate a lot as a coach and as a newcomer in the EuroLeague?
Yeah, good leadership, you know, by two groups, by management, and again, this is Paulius first and foremost. And what I mean with good leadership is like, you know, leadership with like filled with content, you know. Less emotions, more content, you know, more like focus on, okay, so what do we have to improve? What do we have to change? Do we have to change something, you know? Level-headed, you know? And then also leadership by the team, you know, like people like Paulius Jankunas, Yankee, and really like, you know, like stepped it up. But I can't only mention him, like he's just the head of, you know, the leadership head of everything, you know, together with Milas and Marius, because they are the Lithuanian like core. But it's more than only them. The group itself showed really good level-headed focus and leadership, and hey, let's go to the next one. So those two parties really did a good job there.
Talking about the leadership, one guy is really great leader, both vocally and, you know, playing on the court, is Marių Grigonį. What do you think, what makes him the elite player in the EuroLeague?
3 to 4 things. Hardware-wise, you know, a wing who can shoot and who can run pick and rolls on the offensive end is worth a lot. You just don't find that so often, you know. It's just a fact, you know. And then software, I want to call it. Number one, he's a total professional, and number two, he really wants to win, and really wanting to win reflects in you know, things that one doesn't necessarily see, like as the game is going on, you know, behavior on the bench, willingness to win every competition in practice, etc., etc. So those things together, to me, define his quality, and obviously he's been doing a really good job. It's not easy if you develop as a player and you're in the situation which he's in, you know, shortly before the prime of his career, and you get passed on the duty of like leading and being like, let's call it the, how do you say, like the franchise player, you know, also based on the fact that he's Lithuanian and we're a Lithuanian club, etc., etc. And taking that responsibility and then fulfilling the responsibility is not an easy thing, you know, and I think he's done a very good job.
And I think also that it's not an easy job, you know, to match his emotions, to match his kind of physicality, not only on the court but in the practices. Because Marius, in my eyes, is a very tough guy. He was always like that. Did you need, you know, to find the same path with him?
I agree with what you say, and that is also what I want to say image-wise, you know, is kind of his image, you know, playing in Berlin, in Germany, a lot of, that was the image about him, you know. Marius is edgy, you know, like he's got an opinion and he wants to win, and, you know, if things don't go the way they should in his eyes, if they influence winning in a negative way, you know, he will not hesitate to like voice his opinion, etc., etc. And to be honest, I like it a lot. You know, I know that sometimes this is like laid out to be negative or something if you're edgy, but I don't see it like that at all. Like, and I know this sounds like you can't have like a team made up of people who are yes sir, no sir, you know, and everything is nice and good. No, you have to have different types of characters. And again, if the like fundament of the characters, he wants to win. If the reasoning for being edgy and pissed off in certain situations is the right reason, well then everything is good, you know. And therefore I really want to define it as if you go to war and play a game, you figure out pretty fast as a coach who you trust and who you don't trust and who you want to go to war with, you know. And I really like to go to war with him, like really do, you know. He will not always agree with everything I think, do, say, but you know, as long as we have the same goal of wanting to win games, I think we're fine.
How did you end up in going to the war with 20-year-older Rokas Jokubaitis, of course? What was that moment when you understood that you can trust this guy to play your first season in EuroLeague, to play the first game of the season and the crucial moments of, for example, game against Olympiacos and all other games after?
One thing that in the process of this development helped is the fact that I didn't know him, and of course I knew him and I had studied him before I got the job, and I had known him from Utah because of knowing all European draft prospects, etc., etc. But I didn't know him being from within the club and from within the system, and often this helps. You know, this typical situation where people get labeled as something, or and within a country or within a system, it's difficult for them to move forward. And this is not the case with Rokas. Rokas is young, and he played last year under Coach Šaras in EuroLeague, and Coach was like pushing him, and look where he is, you know. But what I'm saying is still it kind of helped me kind of overlooking this, not knowing his process within the club, you know, just coming in and seeing the guy. And he did a good job in pre-season, and he brings certain qualities that found him space on the floor early on. And then it went from there, you know. He earned his minutes, and that was it, you know. It's no more, no less.
His goal is to be the first rounder in the NBA draft, and when you went through NBA draft process, workouts and stuff in Utah, what do you think? What makes him to believe in this goal, and what can make him, why he could be a first rounder in the NBA draft?
To me, a big thing is the fact that he is logging like 20 plus minutes in EuroLeague right now on a team where his minutes are needed, on a team that as of now is well ranked. and that is very meaningful, as you know, and they know, the NBA clubs know this too. Like they can judge very well, you know, the quality that goes into playing in this league as a 20-year-old, where this league is an extremely old league, like if not the oldest league, like in pro basketball, you know, where it's a very closed circle, the EuroLeague, and if you are in the circle, you have a legit chance to stay in the circle, and in a way, the league is conservative, and therefore you compete with real grown men with extreme experience, you know, playing against guys who are from 26 to 36, you know, and on an extremely high level. So just that fact alone should help him get real looks over there. And then, you know, why shouldn't he get it done? He's talented. He's got a flawless character. He works very hard, you know, so I'm rooting for him to fulfill his dreams, whatever they are.
Most of the teams you beat in the EuroLeague were under you in the standings. Probably Bayern Munich was the only top 8 team you beat. What do you think, what this team needs to beat the highest level teams? What's the next step for Žalgiris?
I can't answer the question. I know it's boring, but it's really game to game. And the one thing that that we have seen, and we see actually every day in EuroLeague game days, is that in this league everybody can beat everybody, and there is really no doubts about it. And this is not a cliche. I really believe that every team can beat every team on any given night. I don't think that every team can beat every team in a series. Definitely not. But on any given night, yes. So it has so many factors. This year with COVID, injuries in general, domestic league schedules, where is your team mentally in a certain phase, right? I think it plays such a big role, and who would have thought on paper that Berlin, you know, beats Munich in German league? Who would have thought that Berlin beats Baskonia without Niels Giffey, you know, without Luke Sigma, you know, like it's just, this league is an animal, you know, so I really think the approach is game to game, and we never thought about it like that.
You had so many questions and comparisons to Šaras, so I have to ask you something, because in the press conference in Kaunas he told that you had a conversation on the phone call before the season, probably. And he told that if there will be a problem for you, coach, or something, you can call me whenever you want. You probably didn't have that call yet, but if you would need to choose the one moment throughout the season, when would you make that phone call?
Good question. First of all, yes, I repeat, like it was extremely cool that he called. It was really very friendly, like, because there is no need for him to call me, you know, by no means. So I thought that was really nice. And then also when we played them, he was extremely, how should you say, like, I mean, respectful, like, it was, yeah, support and respectful and nice and kind. And then, of course, a tough competitor, there's no doubts, but I want to say that, like, and I will repeat. I thought about calling him in certain phases, but then also had the feeling that I'm figuring things out by myself. So hasn't happened so far. Also, I can't really pinpoint, but it could be for certain basketball things, to be honest. But if you want to call for certain basketball things, then also you have to build a relationship first. So it could happen, and I would like to, because, you know, it's he's so good and they are so good. But, you know, it could even be that happens next summer and not during the season. What kind of a moment of the season it was when you considered on calling him? I don't even know. It was actually off court, like something like a question, but I don't even, it really didn't materialize, so it wasn't. But I know that I can call him, so, you know, time will come.